Hello everyone and welcome back to Call Sign Charlie Models for the final review of the Kitty Hawk 135th scale HH or MH-60J Jayhawk from the US Coast Guard. And this build, it had its negatives and it had very few positives in it, and it is finally done. It is finally off the workbench and it's ready for the final review. So we're going to go ahead, get down to the photo booth, and we're going to talk about it more down there. So I'll see you guys in just a second. All right, here we are with the finished product of the Kitty Hawk 135th scale MH-60J Jayhawk from Coast Guard Station or Air Station, Traverse City, Michigan. Now, Traverse City is on the upper tip of Michigan. If you put your left hand out and kind of put your thumb out like a good old mitt, you'll see Traverse City will be on the outer tip of your ring finger. That's where Traverse City is, and this air station covers all of Lake Superior and pretty much all of Lake Michigan. And up until 2017, they did that with the MH-65 Dolphin. And on April 20th of 2017, Traverse City received their first Jayhawk, and they were finished converting over to the Jayhawk by the end of the summer of 2017. The Jayhawk does have a much longer range than the Dolphin, of a flying range of 600 miles before they need to do refueling, which equates to a lot more time of searching or a farther range for their searches as well. It also does have a larger cabin than what the Dolphin does, able to hold many more survivors than what the Dolphin was. The Dolphin could fit maybe one or two survivors in it, and this can fit 4, 5, 6, and during Hurricane Katrina had 29 survivors in the rear cabin. That's 29 people in that small cabin. That's some Bernie Weber numbers right there. And if you don't know, Bernie Weber is the largest boat rescue in Coast Guard history. On a 36-foot boat, he had 32 people on board, which is absolutely amazing. Now, from my experience, I drove a 45-foot boat, and we were doing a tour with some Boy Scouts, and we had 30 people, 30 kids on board, and that boat was heavy. And that was in some flat, calm sea state. It was like glass out there. Now, when Bernie did it, he did it in surf with 32 people on board. And on the Jayhawk during Hurricane Katrina, with 29 people crammed into that cabin, I can only imagine how heavy the flight controls were on that. Luckily, they didn't have to fly very far to drop off passengers, but still, cramming 29 people into the back of that is absolutely amazing. So now we're going to get on to the kit. The kit, as you saw in the previous videos, it had some struggles, mainly with the fuselage half fits. That was the main one, and that just caused a cascading effect on future fit issues, like the front glass work, the exhaust area, which was aftermarket from Warner Wings, and the detail on those is absolutely amazing. And then also the other parts from Warner Wings, the stubby fuel tank and the decals, absolutely top notch. These were probably some of my favorite decals I have ever worked with on that. The detail on the kit, the rivet detail is very nice on it, but it is recessed. Now, on the actual Jayhawk, they do have positive rivets on it, but I decided not to go in and re-rivet the whole thing because I just did not feel like doing that to myself again. That was a very painstaking task the last time I did it, and I'd got 2 rows done and my neck was already hurting, so I was like, I'm not going to do this again. The res kit rotor head, again, the detail on it absolutely amazing. It's 3D printed. there were a couple things that I did wrong on it that I mentioned in my previous video about this in part 11 that I'm going to be carrying forward to the Seahawk when I do that. So definitely happy with this one for the most part. The underside is just atrocious, and that was because of the fit of the fuselage halves. The painting, I used the MRP paints with the white and the International Orange. I was worried about the MRP International Orange to begin with, but it was spot on. I'm really happy with the way the color turned out on this. I thought initially it was going to be way too orange, but it comes out, I mean, you can see here the color is perfect, and you can see that foam pad passing by right underneath the tail wing right there. I didn't realize that I still had that in until I was editing last night's video. So it is removed. I put that in there just to help the glue dry on that wing to let it stay in place. And sadly, I didn't realize it was still in there when I was shooting this video. The other problem with the kit was the rear view mirrors. Rear view mirrors, the instructions on how to attach those were about as clear as mud, so you just had to kind of try different angles and finally got it to fit somewhat well. I definitely recommend adding those on at the very end because they are very finicky. And that's really all I have to say about the kit. Now we're going to get into the grading of it. The packaging of the kit was actually pretty good. The only downside of it was that some of the clear parts and some of the older boxes, they didn't have a separate box. Now, some of the newer kits, they do have the clear parts in a separate box, which really does help. So I'm giving a B to the packaging. The plastic and detail, again, plastic was very nice. Some of the fuselage parts does have some warpage, but you can get that fixed. The instructions were the low part of this kit with a D. The instructions were actually horrible. The assembly, a D plus, because of the fit issues with the fuselage that causes the cascading effect later on in the kit with that. So I'm going to give this an overall C plus on this build. Is it something that's going to go to a show? No. But it's a shelf queen. I think it does look good up on the shelf. I've been looking at it overnight, and I'm really happy with it from a distance. It's what I like to call a 3-foot model. Looks great from 3 feet away, but once you get closer, you start seeing the errors, like the windshield right there with some glazing on the inside of it. All right, so now we're going to be heading over to the tier list, and let's get this thing into the tiers. All right, so now we are at the tier list. I just started this with the last build, and you can see the Caproni right here is in the B tier. And now we're going to move over here, and we're going to find the HH-60H, which was the base model for this kit. And we're going to go ahead and drag this over into the C tier right here. So this one, I think with the detail on the plastic really helped it out. The price helped it out on the tier, because otherwise I'm thinking it was going to be a D, but on the average it ends up being a C. Now, sometime this week I am going to go over here. I'm going to do a separate video where I do a catch up with all the builds that I've done on the channel or previous to the channel, or have final reviews of the build on the channel right here. So sorry for the ads right here. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and do those in another video sometime this week. So stay tuned for that. And all some really, really nice builds. Can't wait to get one in the God mode. I think the Felix Toe is definitely going to be up there with that. So that's all we got for today. If you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, hit the bell button for notifications of when I post future videos. The Seahawk is up on the bench next. I'm going to be finishing that one before I move on to some of the much larger projects I have going on right now. And stay tuned for all of those because we're going to be getting all of those finished hopefully by the end of the year. So, other than that, that's all I got. So, until next time, I hope you guys have a great day and I'll see you then. Bye bye.